Hey, Little Flower coming at you from Houston, Texas. So, I'm speaking about the components that comprise death marauding, which are gang stalking, gaslighting, charading, street theater, bullshit, harassment, espionage, bearing false witness against, aka death marauding. It's all a cumulative collaboration in how to fucking get a mark to opt out and commit suicide. Death marauding. So, with regards to the topic for today, the death marauding, the gang stalking. Gang stalking is like, so yesterday, because that's too pre-K. Because there is a lot of collective collaboration going on there that isn't necessarily following you, because that's the stalking part. But the role play, and you're not in on the role play, you know, that's the harassment part. And these people that participate in that collective group dynamic, they're not stalking you, they're death marauding you. That's why you have to come up with the terms that collectively communicate the acute nature of what's going on here. So when it comes to death marauding, I'm going to be talking to the marks, the intendeds, the ones that are designated, because we're badass. Y'all are designated for greatness. You are not a targeted individual. Do not take it on. You can use it to refer people with keyword searches, but that was so yesterday. It's death marauding now. That is the only way public will ever understand this. So, I'm talking to my newbies, our newbies. I've been at this since I was 24, on and off. Two big eras. 50 years old now. 50. So I know a thing or two about it based on my experience. I cannot tell you the sanctions, the ones that who, you know, the props that do all that shit. I don't know. People say, well, if this is happening to you, who is doing it? You don't know who's doing it to you? Well, how could you not know who's doing it to you? It's like, oh, you were a pedestrian? You didn't know who ran you over? How could you not know? What's the matter with you? You must be crazy. Who doesn't know this kind of behavior? So, I'm talking to my newbies here, okay? Because that's basically the kind of response a lot of us get whenever we try to speak out against the death marauding. It's kind of like blame the victim. You don't know who did it to you. You must be crazy. Of course you must know. Shit, honey. It's like Santa Claus. Gang stalkers are like Santa Claus. Is it stupid and lunacy to think Santa Claus was real? We all all saw stuff that happened because of Santa Claus. How can he not be real? Oh, death marauders. We see what's happening to these people who think they're being death marauded, but it's all in their head. Oh no, they're in on it. Who's in on it? You know, the people that promote Santa Claus. Did I say something wrong? If you admit to believing in Santa Claus, does that make you delusional? Does that make you a victim? What if you believe in the idea of gang stalking? You know, death marauding. Does that make you bona fide, certified cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? It's the same analogy, guys. There are milligrams out there and they don't exist. And so, if you are a newbie at this, you know, not junior newbie for enacting the marauding. I'm not talking to you gang stalkers. You have your own Reddit. They have their own Reddit. That's horrible. Yeah, that's fucking funny. Okay, so here's the deal. Number one, it's all a joke. And when I mean that it's a joke on them. They're clinical. Clinical. They're psychotic. They're psychotic. You know, it's like this. Numbers doesn't make it right. Just because you have a whole group of people saying Santa Claus is real, it never made him real. But you got to see the effect of the idea he was real. Well, you still get to see the effect of the idea that death marauding is very real. Although nobody really fesses up to it. But you guys do amongst yourselves. You have a whole subreddit for it. Yeah, so at any rate, take heart, okay, guys? Because, it does suck. Really, really bad. But there is an outcome to this. You do get to graduate from the program. How does one graduate from being death marauded? By surviving it! But when you survive the death marauding, you just got schooled and handcrafted armor for that. And such a way makes you a badass. It makes you spiritually and psychologically bionic. You get stronger for it, y'all. And, while we don't ever want to have to go through it, you will be much more refined for it. Much more formidable for it. And it gives you strength in places you never would have been given an opportunity to grow real, stout in. What would be an idea or an example of this bullshit that I would get some kind of benefit from it? Well, number one, you have to choose happiness. In the middle of all the death marauding, I would suggest you choose happiness. It's not being delusional. It's letting nobody get your lunch money. And two, you might as well choose to be happy. And there's an ebb and flow with that, okay? So being put through the ringer and through the fire with being in more control of our responses to our environments, we become stronger there. It's less likely somebody will take your lunch money. But it helps you stand against the grain. That's what's happening here, is that you're being refined to stand against the grain. It's basically in a nutshell. Do you know how much power there is in not giving a fuck and standing against the grain and learning to have a fucking hilarious time when all that death marauding is going on around you? They're so stupid. Nobody knows. They have a huge case of the emperor wears no clothes. I see that shit live long day. I'm like, boom, boom, boom. There. I haven't picked out, you know, and they listen in on you. So I talked to them. Is that crazy? Maybe I was just joking. Cut that last part out. I talked to everybody. But there is a lot of power. There's a lot of power in being put to the fire of standing against the grain. And what benefit would that have? To be a hero. And just to have a fucking good time. I've been called crazy. Look at me. And I don't even fucking care what people think. You could be like me. Maybe that's not a good thing for a few people. But you could do you. Do you. And not give a fuck and have a damn great time wherever you are. Even with the death marauding going on around you. There's a lot of power in standing against the grain. And happiness. And living a very fulfilled life. That you might not otherwise have come across. I'm not saying what they're doing community service and we should all thank them for it. Instead of give them a dose of their own medicine and let them stand the trial of their peers and have their fucking ass rammed with that gang stalking. School administration participates in it. Firefighters do. Some nurses do. I've seen a doctor do it. If you could agree on all of that, you win. You know, any one of those death marauders would just disintegrate in the stuff that you have to deal with. So, take heart, pay heed. There is a cumulative outcome with all of this. And it doesn't involve anybody being 6 feet under. It makes us soldiers that are worth a shit. I mean, you know, I don't mean any disgrace to our army and stuff. That's not the kind of soldiers I was talking about. I'm talking about us civilians over here. We need soldiers amongst the civilians that's non-military. They can think on their own, discern on their own, not be fed bullshit, be able to have critical thinking applied to not believing all the shit we hear and see only have that stuff amongst each other. We need soldiers afoot here. We need some spiritual warriors. So if you come into all of this bullshit as a believer, as anybody of faith, you're being refined to become a spiritual warrior. Oh, when I say warrior, I be all like, gladiator. A spiritual warrior as gladiator. Gladiator. And, you know, warrior is great and everything, but we have to draw a distinction here, okay? But we're all gladiators. We all are. That are spiritual, faithful warriors that pray for those, that, are a part of this thing. But you don't have a sense of faith, a sense of deity. You got dragged to being death marauded. Oh, you're gonna learn all of that. The program kind of self-teaches. It's shoot or get off the pot and conquer it. And if you're gonna choose conquer, that's what you get. So dig your heels in, pray, meditate, reach out to others, because this too shall soon pass. And guess what? We have a working expiration date. 8 months. Give yourself 8 months. See where you are in 8 months. You'll be a very different person. I promise. I promise. So, Little Flower coming at you from Houston, Texas, speaking out against death marauding and the components thereof: gang stalking, gaslighting, charading, street theater, harassment, workplace mobbing, and all of the above. Death marauding. And it's wrong, and it's bad. And if you are a public servant, stop. Be the change in a utopic society that we all would rather be living in, instead of having to deal with all this gay. Oh, did I say gay? I'm sorry. I love gay. I love gay men secretly. They're so unavailable. I can draw all I want, and it won't make a difference. But gang stalking, for those that participate in it, y'all need to stop. We need you to champion for, the good guy, the light. Little Flower coming at you from Houston, Texas.